What's up guys, Melonie Mac here. The time has finally come. I'm so excited I can't even contain it, but it is my Rise of the Tomb Raider review. You guys, no way! Is this real life? So, as you know, Tomb Raider is my all-time favorite video game series. I've been playing since the OG days back in the 90s, and I am just elated right now to be providing you guys with this Rise of the Tomb Raider review. Huge thank you to Microsoft for providing me with a code so that I was able to play it early and get this review out for you guys ahead of time. So I just want to say I'm going to keep this spoiler free. I don't want to spoil the experience for anybody. As soon as I got the game, I installed it immediately and I played it. I did not get up. I want to say I took like 2 bathroom breaks and that's it. I did not leave my spot. I had snacks. I ate while I was playing and I totally marathoned it start to finish because I couldn't help myself, and that's how I like to play my Tomb Raider games. It took me about 14 hours. I played it on Seasoned Raider difficulty though. I want to kind of be able to talk to you guys in a way to where I can explain it to fans of the series who've been with it for a long time and also newcomers, because there's certain elements of the game that you guys are going to be curious about. So I want to be able to give you guys what you're looking for with that. So I'm just going to start off and briefly touch on the story but not get too much into detail with that because that is something I do not want to spoil for anybody. I have to say, just overall, the story is the absolute best story we've ever seen in any Tomb Raider game. Of course, this is my opinion, but I've played every single Tomb Raider game. They've all had their ups and downs story-wise, and for the reboot that we got, the last game before this one, I didn't like the story. I have to be honest, I did not like the story at all. I thought it was too much of a whole rescue mission thing. It was a whole Lara Croft just whining and complaining about the elements and all that. You know, I do understand where she was coming from. I do understand the whole story, how it made sense of that. That's how she became a Tomb Raider and all that. But I just didn't like it. I didn't like the story at all. It did not appeal to me, and I just felt like it didn't do the game justice, even though the game was really great. But I'm not a fan of the story for the reboot. However, Rise of the Tomb Raider, absolute best story I've ever seen in any Tomb Raider game ever. And I just feel like it was a lot more in-depth. It had the whole like Lara actually chasing after an artifact element that I really do like about the classic stories, and even the Legend and Anniversary and Underworld stories as well. So I just feel like a Tomb Raider game needs that. You know, you have to have Lara chasing an artifact, something with mystical powers, something that can do something amazing. And so that is what she does in Rise of the Tomb Raider. Artifact is back, she's after it, and I don't want to get too spoilerific here, but yes. So that element is back. She's actually seeking this out. But this time around, it's like she's really after answers. She's following her father's research, so she does want answers for what she's looking for, because it does pertain to her father and all that. But I do think that something I would like to see in future games is I want to see Lara having fun. The story is definitely a lot deeper than any Tomb Raider story that we've seen in the past. Except for, you know, the reboot story was pretty deep, I guess you could say, but it just had so many like cliche elements. The characters were so annoying. The only character I liked from the reboot was Jonah. I just felt like that they weren't really done that well in the reboot. Now, this time around, you know, Jonah is back. Jonah's great. He has been expounded on, so, you know, he's much more than just a big teddy bear. And he's still that big teddy bear guy, but he just has a lot more depth than he did then. And he's a boss, you know? You actually get to see that, wow, he can actually hold his own, and he's actually a really awesome guy. So that's really cool. I really did like to see that, but he also doesn't get in the way. So it's not so much of, you know, in the reboot, I felt like Lara's friends were just all in the way. That's all the purpose that they had, really, was pretty much was they're in the way, she's got to rescue them, they were annoying, they were helpless, they weren't really that cool, and they were boring. So I feel like this time around, it wasn't like that at all. I feel like, you know, Jonah's awesome, and I feel like the new characters that they introduced are great. That is one thing that I am really excited about, because, you know, if you were to tell me ahead of time that, hey, these characters are going to be in there, and you briefly tell me about them, I would be so skeptical. I'd be like, wait a minute, are they going to be annoying? So there is a good portion of the game that you are going to be involved with other characters, but there's also plenty of time in the game where Lara is by herself doing her thing. She prefers to work alone. She says that, she acts like it, her actions reflect that, and that's awesome. My favorite part about Tomb Raider is the exploration and the puzzle solving and Lara Croft as a character. But in terms of actual story, I feel like that's always been a pretty weak point for the series, even in past games that I really do like the stories in like the good old classics, but you know, I felt like the story was always just like, okay, you know, it's kind of an afterthought, like, okay, yeah, this is really cool, but I wasn't necessarily on the edge of my seat like, oh my gosh, what happens next? Like, it was just all about the gameplay. So this time around, the story is gripping, and I was freaking like on the edge of my seat, like, oh my gosh, what happens next? Whenever a cutscene came around, I was just wide-eyed. I couldn't even blink. I'm like, wait, whoa, what's going on? This is crazy. There's some crazy plot twists and all kinds of stuff that happens, and it's just like, wow, I am really, really impressed. So major props on the story. Amazing. Moving on, now I want to talk about the exploration and the tombs, because that's something that a lot of the hardcore OG fans are going to be wondering about. That's something that, you know, on the forums that everybody's talking about. So the big flaw with the reboot for OG fans was, hey, there's not enough exploration, it's too linear, there's not enough tombs, and the tombs are freaking optional, and they're not that hard, the puzzles aren't, and it's just pretty shallow. So that I did agree with the reboot, is I felt like they could have expounded on that, made that a lot better, and I have to say, huge, massive, unbelievable improvement with Rise of the Tomb Raider. There is so much exploration. I beat the game and I still have so much I have to do. I'm gonna 100% this game, and it's gonna take a lot of exploration, because there's so much you can do. There's huge open world areas. They're absolutely gorgeous. And you can do side quests there, but on top of that, the most important part for me is the tombs. So you have your main story tombs, which are great. They're very elaborate, they're huge, they're gorgeous. There's some tricky puzzles too, and I have to say, and this is something that I know a lot of the OG fans are really gonna appreciate, but I got stumped on some of them, and it took me some time to actually get through them. Like, one puzzle in particular toward the end, I was working on that one for a while. I was really excited about that because, you know, it's like I want to have that challenge with the puzzles for Tomb Raider, and so I did get that experience with this. So that was great. So the optional tombs are honestly really elaborate, and the puzzles in the optional tombs are really challenging. Some of them are, and so that is exciting to me too, because it's like, that just takes a lot of extra work, you know what I mean? Like, this isn't even a part of the main story. This is something that a lot of the OG fans and the people who are gonna wanna challenge are gonna appreciate, and they put a lot of time and detail into these puzzles. So that is really exciting for me, because I've still got more tombs I need to explore. Like I said, I marathoned the game until I beat it. It took 14 hours, and that was with some exploration, but there is so much more exploration that I need to do. I spent 14 hours on it, 60% of the game complete, so there's still another 40% of the game of exploration and optional tombs that I need to find. So I am just so excited that I have that to go back to and to conquer, because the optional tombs that I did encounter were so great. They were challenging, they were elaborate, and something that was cool about the optional tombs is once you completed them, you get to use these different abilities that you can use later on in the game. I feel like the OG fans might not all like this as much though. I think a lot of them will, but then there's still gonna be some who might be like, wait a minute, because one of the abilities I got, for example, was the consumable items that you get, like branches, they glow. And a lot of the OG fans, like, they don't like shiny ledges, they don't like shiny objects in general. Like, they want to be able to find those, because in the classic games, oh, that was a big thing. It's like, you had to look for a key. It could take you forever to find a freaking key on the ground because it blended in with the textures. So it's like, a lot of the OG fans want to have that difficulty in just finding stuff. So one of the abilities that I did get from an optional tomb was that the consumable objects, like the little trees that you, in bushes and stuff, that had stuff that you could take, and the mushrooms, they would stay shiny gold, like even more shiny than before. So I guess you could say some people might not like that, but a lot of people will, because it's just cool. It's like, okay, cool, you know, here's a little added thing that I get for my tomb raiding experience because I completed this optional tomb. You get a reward for completing a tomb. So it's much more than just, hey, yay, pat on the back, I'm proud of myself, I did this, which OG fans are gonna appreciate, but I think that, you know, a lot of other people who are playing the game are gonna be like, hey, yes, I got a reward for this, so that's awesome. Something else that I really liked was being able to read and transcribe different writings on, you know, the walls and the tombs and things like that. The more ancient writings that you read, the more proficient you are in that language. So there might be something that Lara can't transcribe or she can't translate, right? there. She's like, wait a minute, I'm a little rusty, my Greek is rusty. And so she'll read other stuff, and then she'll become more knowledgeable at that, and then you can go back and read that and figure it out. So there is a lot of opportunities to improve on abilities and then go back and to access areas that you haven't been able to do before. You can complete certain little puzzles and things like that that you could not before. So that's something that I really like, and that's something that is going to really appeal to old school Tomb Raider fans, because you know, that's something that we've had to do before. We've had to go and collect keys, then go back and open doors and access areas that we couldn't before. So you're gonna have a lot of that in Rise of the Tomb Raider. And not only through those writings and stuff, but through other things. There's different equipment that you can get that's gonna help you access areas that you couldn't before, like a lockpick, for example. And so there's areas that are closed off. You might not be able to get there, but once you get the proper equipment, you can go back and access those areas. That means more exploration, more stuff to do. So again, this is really gonna appeal to OG fans, and there is so much. I have to say, I cannot stress enough how vast the exploration is. This is by far, no contest, the most hugest Tomb Raider game ever. There is more stuff to explore than we've ever had. There is a ton of game in this, and that's something that really impressed me, because there are parts that are gonna seem linear, that are with the story, and so you know, you do have to progress in the story, so there does need to be a certain amount of linear elements in the game, because it's not, you know, it's not just a sandbox title, you know. So there, you do have that if you want to progress the story, but the world is huge, and there is so much that you can explore. So once you get past the story and once you see what happens, what you're gonna want to do, because the story is freaking awesome, you're gonna have an unlimited area to explore with all the different locations. So that is really cool. I would say that one of the things that I feel like I would have liked to see more of is a little bit more variety in locations. Now, I don't really want to knock that, because there is a huge variety in locations. Now, you do have some areas that some people were saying from earlier gameplays, oh, this kind of feels like, you know, the Tomb Raider reboot area, where you have like the whole construction area and all that, but no, there is a lot more than that. So some of the textures and stuff, in some ways the game is gonna look a lot like the reboot, because you know, it's a continuation of the franchise, so it's not like a brand new totally different game. It is, but there's gonna be some things that remind you of past game. That's just how it is. It's Tomb Raider. You know, you look at any series and they all remind you of each other in certain elements, because it's the same freaking series. So you do have that, but there is a ton of different areas. So I really appreciate the environments a lot more than in the reboot, for example. I feel like in the reboot they were going for like this really gritty, dark feel, which I still did appreciate for what it is, but it just made everything kind of look the same. Everything had like this almost grayish filter over it and all that, and it just didn't seem as you know, the areas didn't seem as unique. It all seemed like the same thing, and of course you were on the island the whole time, so in a lot of ways it was, but still, this time around you don't have that almost grayscale-ish filter over there, and you have like these beautiful colors and plants and trees and structures and tombs, and everything looks unique. You go to a new location and I just had to take a second to just move the camera around and look and go, wow, oh my gosh, this is gorgeous. So there is more of a feel of that, and you do feel a lot more like you're actually exploring. You feel like you're in new locations, and you do get that feel. However, I do have to say I wish that there was more to Syria, because it's pretty much just what we saw in the demo. Once you're done, no more Syria. So I would have liked to have seen another tomb, you know, just a little bit more time in Syria, because that was a very different location. It's not this cold climate, and it's somewhere where it's like this more desert location, so it does feel a lot different. So I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that, but still, all things considered, I am super pleased with how different the locations feel. So once you get to the different levels, and I say levels because it's more like, feels more open world, so it's not so much level-based feeling, but still, when you get to the different levels of the game, they all feel so different. They all feel very unique, and so you do feel like you're getting a huge adventure exploration experience. However, I would like to say in the next Tomb Raider game, or in future Tomb Raider games, I want to see more globetrotting. I want to see Lara go to more locations. I want to see, like, you know, a good 3 different locations with different climates, you know, something like that. I think that would be super cool to see in the future. So, combat. Now, this is something that I feel like newcomers of the series appreciate. It's fun, but then a lot of the old school fans from Tomb Raider series aren't a huge fan of the combat. And I kind of have mixed feelings on it. I think the combat is really well done and it's really fun, but I feel like with the reboot, a lot of the challenge of the game was solely on the combat and not so much the exploration and the tombs and things like that. So that was something I was a little skeptical about coming into Rise of the Tomb Raider, but I do have to say is I really enjoyed the combat in Rise of the Tomb Raider. It's freaking hard. If you play on one of the harder difficulty modes, wow. I played it on Seasoned Raider difficulty and it got really hard. At first I was like, dude, you know, I can take this. Why am I not playing this on Survivor mode right now? Come on now. And then I realized later on in the game, holy what. Once you progress like near the end, it starts to feel like Dark Souls challenging. I am telling you, it's freaking hard. I was at parts where I didn't have the proper consumables for healing up and things like that. And then I was very limited on ammo and it got crazy. I was replaying certain combat sequences over and over and over. I want to say one of them in particular took me 2 hours to get past. So that was crazy, but I mean, it was frustrating, but in a good way, because then after I beat it, I felt like so accomplished. So it kind of has that like masochist feel that you get from Dark Souls, I guess you could say. So I don't know, for me, I really like that, but I think for a lot of OG Tomb Raider fans, you might not like that. So having said that, I think that if you want that challenge, if you want to feel like you're freaking, if you want to stay stuck on a combat sequence for a good hour or so, doing it over and over and over again until you're really frustrated and then beating it and being happy, yeah, you're gonna want to play on the harder difficulty levels. But if your main focus is, hey, you just want to explore, you want to see what happens in the story and all that, and the combat is not your cup of tea, then you're gonna want to play this on an easier difficulty level. And for OG Tomb Raider fans, look, playing it on an easier difficulty level does not make you any less of a hardcore fan than playing it on a harder difficulty level, because you enjoy the game for other reasons than the combat. Then the combat, playing it on harder difficulty, is not going to change anything but make the combat harder. So it's just like, you know, unless you really want to punish yourself, which I did, then don't even worry about the harder difficulty levels, you know. So yeah, the combat is very brutal. It is very unforgiving if you're playing on the harder modes. But I do have to say the combat is really good. There is no like hiding behind a cover and just freaking popping out and being really cheap like that. Like, you really couldn't in the reboot either, and they did a good job at making, you know, the enemies throw grenades and stuff like that and Molotovs, so that you couldn't just sit there and camp. And you definitely can't now. They can freaking shoot through some cover pretty well. So it's like you really have to be on top of your game. Something else I really like about the combat is the stealth. That was really, really well done. I know in the gameplays they did release that there were some mixed comments from people. Some people were like, holy what, Lara is a boss, she's freaking Ramboing it. And then other people were like, why is she killing people? She's a murderer, blah, 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 blah. Well, first of all, I just gotta say, these people she's freaking killing, like, they're trying to kill her. She's defending herself, so no, she's not a murderer. She's freaking doing what she's gotta do. You know what I mean? So yeah, just clear the air there. But also I have to say, you don't have to kill. There was one portion of the game that I snuck out of there. I noped out of that because it was freaking hard. So I was like, you know what? I can either Rambo this over and over and over again until I finally kill everybody, or I can just sneak my way out of here. So I snuck my way out of there because that was actually really hard. So that's really cool that you can do that. And sneaking out, it's not easy either, because they can detect you and they can't see you, and there's a lot of them there. So yeah, that's a challenge in and of itself. So that's really cool. So sometimes you want to kind of mix things. I always like to get those sneaky headshots and stuff. I find that playing with the bow is really fun. And I didn't even play a lot with the bow in the reboot. I mostly used the pistol and the machine gun, and then I would use the bow at times, but I wasn't a huge fan of the bow. that time around, but this time I have to say the bow is freaking rad because you do get to equip, like, you can make the poison arrows, you can make the fire arrows, and you can make fire arrows before, but it just feels like a lot more expansive this time around. You have explosive arrows, and so being able to use those in your play style just really helps a lot, because there were times I just wanted to poison everybody just so I could be stealthy, and so that was really cool. Not only that, but it was just great to be able to be stealthy with the bow. And I love the stealth, and I thought that I was gonna go into the game just Rambo, run and gun, but I didn't. I wanted to be stealthy because it was just so gratifying to be able to just clear out a big group of people without even being caught, you know? So that was super cool. So the bow was actually really good for that. Also, consumables. They did a freaking awesome job with that, and that's something that with the reboot, we had times where it was like, okay, kill the deer so Lara can eat, this and that, and you don't really feel like, you're like, okay, why? I just killed a deer for one portion of the game and that's it, it was done. You don't need to hunt or anything else really after that. It's pretty pointless. So this time around, you collect a lot of consumables, you collect a lot of objects that you can craft different things. The crafting system is just unbelievably awesome. So you use those throughout the whole game. You use them a lot. So you're gonna craft those, you're gonna be able to heal up. You're gonna be able to make explosive arrows. You're gonna make those mushroom, you're gonna be able to collect the mushrooms and make those poison arrows, and you use them throughout the entire game. It's not just, okay, yay, I got to craft something once and I'm done. It's like you continuously use them. It's a huge part of the game. So major props for that, because that was really, really well done, and I was really happy about that. I feel like the combat in general, it does get combat heavy at times. So if you're playing throughout the story, a lot of the OG fans might think that it is a little combat heavy, and there were times where I thought it was a little combat heavy too, but like I said, I think that's where difficulty level comes in too. If you turn your difficulty level down, you're gonna be able to get through these parts really fast, and then you're gonna be able to spend more time exploring. And for me, I had the difficulty level up really high, so for that reason, it is a lot more combat heavy than it would be otherwise, because there were parts that were taking me times to do over and over again until I got through them. So for that reason, yes, but still, the combat's done well, and it's fun, and it's super gratifying when you get past it, especially on the harder difficulty, so I'm really not complaining too much there. And also because there is tons to explore outside of that. I also want to talk about Lara herself. So Lara is super, super cool this time around in comparison to how she was in the reboot. I feel like she's a little whiny. She wasn't really, you know, she's still cool, and I still really liked her. Obviously, she's my favorite video game character ever, but compared to how we've seen her in the past and stuff like that, you know, I felt like she was a little bit too whiny for my taste. So this time around, you don't see that. You don't see that, I hate tombs and blah, blah, like whining and crying all the time. You don't see that, and I really, really appreciate that. She is just confident, and I like that. I do think that she's a little too soft, and I would have liked to see a little more, you know, she still is aggressive, she still is like a boss, and there are times that she like taunts the enemies with things that she says, just, and that's really cool, but I do feel like it would be cooler to see her be a little more snarky, I guess you could say, and because, you know, she's a little soft, she's a little, which is a lot, she's likable, like she's really likable, but it's just not so much, you know, it doesn't quite have that same like, okay, this is Lara, this is the Lara I know and love from the past. Like, you don't get that all the time. You do have times of that, you do have moments of that, like, oh yes, yeah girl, but there are times where it's just like, okay, you know, you might see a camera pan in on Lara like close up, and she just kind of looks like, okay, look at that, oh my gosh, I need to get over there, like something like that, instead of just being like, I just like to see a little bit of a I don't know, like a snarl, or like a, okay, I gotta get there, you know what I mean? So I would have liked to see that, but she is definitely more confident, she's sure of herself, and that is really cool. So I think they did a really good job with that, and so she's likable, she's you know, she still has her hard edge at times, which is really cool, but at the same time, you know, she's a likable person, she's cool. I think we might see more hardened Lara in the future. This could be before she gets, you know, really, really hardened, but she's definitely super confident, and she has her moments like, oh yeah, girl, you tell him, you do that. And that is great. So she does have those moments, which is awesome. I want to see a little bit of sarcasm though in her character, because that's what she had in the past, in the OG days. So I would love to see that. I want to see some cheekiness, some sarcasm. I want to be able to have some moments where I'm laughing at things that Lara says. It's just like, oh my gosh, wow. So that would be cool. But maybe in the future we'll see that. In the meantime, still super pleased. She definitely does the character justice in this game, and I'm freaking in love with the character. She's the best. She's my favorite video game character ever, and I want to be like her and all that good stuff. So yeah, she still is amazing, and definitely huge improvement over how she acted in the reboot. All right, so I have been filming this for over 40 minutes. This is gonna be very interesting to edit and try to condense for you guys. Whoa, my voice. See, I'm losing my voice. Let me kind of bullet point this in conclusion so that you guys can just get this summary of what I'm talking about here. First of all, I've got to say, this game is leaps and bounds, million, billion, trillionth time the game that the reboot was. And as much as I love the reboot, I acknowledge a lot of flaws. And as a Tomb Raider fan, things that I wanted to see change. And I just feel like Rise of the Tomb Raider took all of those things and made it better. They improved on every single one of those things. Not to say that I think that there isn't anything that Rise of the Tomb Raider can improve on, but I've got to say it's freaking blew me away. It exceeded my expectations. Having said that, I don't know, this is just crazy to me, because I just feel like there are so many ways that Rise of the Tomb Raider just completely not only improves massively on the reboot, but on any Tomb Raider game we've ever seen. I think the story, the absolute best in any Tomb Raider game we've ever seen. I think that the exploration, by far the best, most expansive Tomb Raider game we've ever seen. So the exploration, better, bigger, more stuff to do than any Tomb Raider game we've ever seen. I feel like new features, again, more than we've ever seen in any Tomb Raider game before. You've got freaking the crafting system, which is incredible, and you've got your skills system, which is amazing. And it's just above and beyond, bigger, better than anything we have ever seen. So honestly, the only thing that I can really say, and the things that I have that I want to see improved in the future, are pretty minor. I think that there are times where it does get a little bit combat heavy, especially toward the end of the game. And that's something that I would like to see a little bit more, brain power, more puzzle, a little bit more exploration towards the end of the game, because you're not going to see nearly as much toward the end as you do in the middle, at the beginning, and then near the end. So I would like to see a little bit more of that, but still, honestly, the game is freaking massive and there's so much to explore that there really isn't room to complain a whole lot about that. So definitely that. Honestly, the big thing for me is it's just like, okay, can we just really develop Lara Croft's character more? That's really the only thing that I have to say, is I want to see a little bit more sides of her, because we just see, just kind of the dramatic, side and the whole like fight or flight type thing. But I want to see more of her personality. I want to see some cheekiness. I want to see, we don't really get moments where we see Lara just, really showing off her attitude and stuff like that, in terms of like that sarcastic attitude. So I do want to see more of that. But honestly, I think that all things considered, I really love how Lara was portrayed in this game, and I think she was amazing. So definitely really excited about that. I just like to see a little bit more in that area, and that really is the only thing I have to say. So to my OG fans, you guys are gonna be asking, hey, am I gonna like this? Honestly, if you don't, I don't know how you wouldn't, because there's gonna be some elements that you're gonna, as an OG fan, that you're gonna wanna see more of the OG elements and all that, but still, I think that as a newcomer, you're gonna really enjoy it. It's freaking amazing, it's fun, it's a great action adventure game. There's a lot to explore, and there's a lot of combat, so depending on what you like, there's a lot of that, and it can completely cater to you. So if you want the hints, if you want to know where to go, you can use your survival instincts. But if you don't want that, and you want the challenge of figuring out everything on your own, so the OG fans, you don't have to use survival instincts. You don't have to worry about that. You can just figure it all out on your own. You can explore. There's a freaking massive world to explore that's gonna take you so many hours to do. So as an OG fan, you've got that. You've got your elements of backtracking and doing things. So it might not be the same old school, like pull a lever, open this door, pull that other lever, or find the key. It's not exactly like that, but there are elements that are very similar to that, in the fact that, okay, I can't get to this door yet. I need a lockpick first. Let me get that lockpick first. Let me get the rope arrows first before I can go back here. So you do have those elements that are very similar as the OG games in the terms of okay, I can access this area later once I find this, once I collect this, once I get that. And so you have that. You have your traps. You have your puzzles. You have your exploration. You have so many tombs. And honestly, this is more exploration than you're gonna get in any Tomb Raider game ever, even in the old school ones, like way more. So I really don't understand that, even as a classic fan, how you could not like this. So I think that this is really gonna make a lot of you guys happy, and I think that it's gonna make newcomers happy, and I'm just overwhelmed. I am so excited, and I don't even know what to say. After I beat the game, I just took some time where I was just dazed for like, I marathoned it, spent 14 hours straight playing it, didn't sleep, nothing. And so by the time I did go to sleep, I couldn't even sleep because I was thinking about the game. I was thinking about everything. I was like, oh my gosh, like, what is life right now? First of all, I couldn't believe I actually beat the game, and I was just processing it, but it took me for a long freaking time to just process everything because I'm like, wow. Even after I beat it, like, I was like, whoa. Like, Joey asked me, he's like, so what do you think? What do you think? And I just sat there for like 5 minutes before I could even say a word. I was just like, what happened? I didn't even know what to say, but then I was like, this was amazing. So it blew my mind. It was freaking everything that I hoped it would be and more. And I just cannot stress enough how much I love this game and how excited I am to see this franchise continue, because I just feel like if they made Rise of the Tomb Raider this awesome, freaking how are you gonna top that with the next game? Like, they got their work cut out for them, because this is freaking a billion times the game that the reboot was. And I feel like, you know, it holds up against some of the biggest AAA titles that we have now, and I feel like this is like freaking Game of the Year material. And I know I totally sound like a fangirl right now, and I am in a lot of ways because it is my favorite series, but no, I really mean that. Like, this Tomb Raider, it's just so great to see it as something so freaking huge and awesome, because I've been a fan since before it was, you know, as widely known. So to see it this massive and to see it this amazing is just makes me so happy. So yes, this definitely, I can't say enough good about it. So anyway, before I ramble for a bazillion hours, like I said, this is gonna take me a long time to edit because I've been talking for like an hour now. So anyway, yeah, there you have it, my review for Rise of the Tomb Raider. I am so emotional right now because I can't believe that this time has come and this has finally happened. Like, I cannot stress enough how much Tomb Raider has changed my life, and I'm just so excited. I am so thrilled with how Rise of the Tomb Raider came out. So yes, here is cheers to the next game. I can't wait until that time comes, which I know it's gonna be a wait, but yeah, onwards and upwards. Like, I am gonna be freaking playing this all the time. So if you are watching this on Monday the 9th, then you're definitely gonna wanna go over to my channel, twitch.tv/MelonieMac, because I will be playing Tomb Raider Definitive Edition to kind of hype up Rise of the Tomb Raider. So I'm gonna be playing through that at Crystal Dynamics headquarters, and then I will be playing on the 10th, Rise of the Tomb Raider. So definitely tune in for that. I want to see as many of you as possible. But anyway, there you have it. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.